Welcome to the Rising Sun Country Park. I think it's the best kept secret in North Tyneside. It's a wonderful facility. There are so much to see, so much to do, whether you're riding a horse, whether you're on a bicycle, whether you're just taking the children out for a walk on a Sunday. It is an absolute treat. So many birds, so many animals, wonderful trees. Come with me, have a look, have a taste and see what it's like, and then come and visit yourself. I'm walking along the approach road to the Rising Sun Countryside Centre. I'm coming away from Asda, which is in front of me. The area on this side is known as Scaffold Hill. We're not sure where the name comes from. There are three theories. The first theory is that in the 16th century there were a lot of witch hunts in this area, and that a scaffold was erected on this site to dispatch these poor unfortunate women. The second reason is that it is thought that a scaffold was erected on this site so that people could watch the steeplechase that ran from Merton in that direction to Benton in that direction. That was in about the 17th century, mid-17th century. The third reason is that a scaffold is often associated with stone quarries, and we have two stone quarries behind me there. Certainly the name scaffold is used in Scaffold Hill Farm and Scaffold Mill, which again are on this site here. When you come to the Scaffold Hill area, you'll find there's an information board that tells you an awful lot about the things that went on here, a lot more than I can tell you today. But come with me and we'll have a look at another area of the park. Right, I think we'd better have you on the lead, son. This is a nature reserve. The doggies have to be on the lead. So we've got this fabulous woodland. Absolutely beautiful. It's only 30 years old. Before this, it was a corporation rubbish tip. And before that, it was the Moor Edge Colliery. Again, the rising sun isn't what it seems. We're now on a series of wonderful pathways that run through the park and beyond. You can walk for miles. People with their dogs, people with their children, horse riders, cyclists, all use this. But what was it? It was a wagonway. It was the wagonway that Stevenson used when he was trying out his trains. So he had the train that we know particularly was something that was called the Blucher and or My Lord. We're not sure whether Blucher was different from My Lord or whether they were one and the same, and the documents from the time aren't awfully clear. But this wagonway goes all the way through to Killingworth, and then it curves round and goes down to the Tyne. So this is how they transported coal. This again, part of the corporation rubbish tip, which is now an absolutely beautiful mixed woodland. And I don't know whether you can see it, but over there is a beautiful little pond. So this is the pond I was talking about. It's maturing beautifully. It really is. It doesn't look to me as though it's only been here for 4 years or thereabouts. I don't know whether you can see them, but there's a pair of mallards just paddling about. They've got a little nest on the island. This is used a lot for educational purposes. In fact, the whole of the park is, because children don't understand until they've done it for themselves what's there. So they come along here with their nets and they dip in the pond and then they help to identify all the wildlife. It really is quite exciting. This is the wildflower meadow. Now it might not look very exciting, but enthusiasts with a knowledge of plants get deeply excited about it. Originally it was part of the woods, and it's still part of the corporation rubbish tip. But somebody set fire to the woods, and this was the result. There are plants there that you will only find way out in North Northumberland. This is one of a series of boards that were written and produced by the Friends of the Rising Sun Country Park. And in case you thought I was making it up about the flowers, there's photographs here of the flowers, or some of the flowers that appear here, and some of the butterflies. And it is very pretty when it's in flower. The photographs were taken by a very talented amateur photographer called Viv Samuelson, who at the time was a member of the committee of the Friends of the Rising Sun and continues to be a good friend to the park. Coal mining has gone on in Wallsend for a very long time. The first record I could find was Elizabeth I making a grant of coal mining rights to one of her favourites, but there isn't that much evidence that he took up the offer. A lot of coal mining went on in the 19th century, and a lot of coal mining went on in the middle of Wallsend. But these mines were privately owned, and the coal owners were far more interested in profit than anything else, so they didn't maintain the mines properly, and they were very wet mines, and eventually their neglect paid. They expected dividends, and the whole thing flooded. Coal mining sort of came to a little bit of a halt there until 1906, when the Wallsend and Hebburn coal mining company sank a shaft in this field here, and that was the first shaft of the Rising Sun pit. Coal mining, even in those days, was very, very dangerous. It's difficult to imagine the sort of life these poor guys must have had, going down the pit when it was still dark in the morning and coming out in the dark at night. There was the constant risk of explosion, and in those days the best they could do was to take canaries down, and that would tell them if there was a certain sort of gas there. It was later that George Stephenson and Humphrey Davy both invented a safety lamp which would give some indication as to whether there was dangerous gas around, but there was this huge danger of explosion, and even then there was a danger of a different sort of gas being sucked in to the mine and suffocating the miners after an explosion. I believe it was called fire damp, but I would need to check that. So this is where the first shaft was sunk. A local artist has done a picture of what it looked like, probably in about 1914, and that gives some idea. This area here was much flatter than this, obviously. It was covered in railway lines. It's difficult to imagine how many railway lines were there. In fact, I find it difficult to imagine what this looked like in those days.